Pa onaj čovjek je, Boga mu, prošao glavom kroz zid zbog vas.
Daleko mu lepa kuća.
Vazduh je svež kao muzika. Ne znam ništa lepše od apasionate. Mogao bih da je slušam svaki dan. Divna, nadčovečanska muzika. Ja uvek sa ponosom, možda i naivnim, pomislim, eto kakva čudesa mogu da stvore ljude. Ali ne mogu da slušam muziku. Ona dejstvuje na živce. Obuzme me želja da govorim nežne gluposti. Da milujem ljude po glavi koji živeći u ovom paklu mogu da stvaraju ovakvu lepotu. A danas više nikog ne smeš da miluješ po glavi, odgrišće ti ruku. Danas treba udarati po glavi, nemilosrdno udarati. Mada smo mi u načelu protiv svakog nasilja nad ljudima.
Рабочие и крестьяне всего мира хотят сохранить Республику Советов как стрелу, пущенную верной рукой товарища Ленина в стан врагов.
Yeah, that gives you some sense of what we're dealing here. There's a montage and everything like that. Okay, so, I mean, that's only a small sample of the film. It gives you some sense of what the film, the possible collaging elements. Both in, you know, we go from the scene from the fiction to that scene from it's an actual late 40s Soviet film with this guy who played Stalin in these various films, apparently, to something I don't know, animated in mental style. I'm not sure what that other footage is actually. But I mean, also the dialogue. I mean, obviously we don't have we have anti-naturalistic acting, and I mean, the question which gets you is why is Milena so invested in this Soviet, you know, artist hero who, you know, is so lofty and abstract and, you know, anti-body basically. In fact, his dialogue is actually a paraphrase of a famous statement by Lenin, who did make, I'm not sure it's word for word, but who did talk about the beauty of, you know, how he can't listen to the beauty of Beethoven because it would make him too soft when, you know, we have to crush down the enemies of the people and stuff like that. So we have this, you know, we have ideology being translated into immediate libidinal kind of forces. What happens at the climax of the film is that, well, I'll just show you the next clip, which sort of will express what happens.
Šta imamo za danas?
Nađena je 200 metra uzvodno od mesta gdje je pronađeno telo.
Slatka mala. Lepa glavica. Oštećena neobično oštrim predmetom, oštrom sekirom ili satarom.
Gle, če jebe. Da.
udarac je morao biti silovit. Ova lepa glava izgubila je telo iz jednog partnerovog poteza. U vagini je pronađena ogromna količina ejakulata, 3 do 4 normalne mere.
Da, da.
Imamo li kakvih indikacija na terenu?
Kaj je?
Je to bio grupni seks?
Tamo na licu mesta ne liči da je bila redajka, čak ni silovanje, nego više kao luda ljubavna noć.
Pošto tragova nasilja nema, znači sva ta silna sperma primljena je dobrovoljno.
Da.
Treba pogledati u duševne bolnice da im nije umakao neki seksualno izgladnili pacijent.
Tako je.
Da li ste našli predmet izvršenja?
Da, jesam. Niklovane šampionke. Mnogo fina stvar. Evo.
Kosmički zraci prožimali su naša spojena tela. Pulsirali smo damaranjem svemira. Ali on to nije mogao da izdrži. Pošao je samo korak dalje i... Vladimir je čovek plemenitog nestrpljenja. Čovek visokih ambicija, velike energije, romantik, asketa, pravi crveni fašist. Drugovi, ja se ni sada ne stidim svoje komunističke.
Okay, so that's where I got the title for my book. And again, I mean, there's more to the film. I mean, I'm just giving you a small segment of the film that actually continues after that. But I mean, you sort of have the clash between politics and sexuality. You have the clash between actually existing socialism and actually existing capitalism. You clash between ideals and the fact that there's something inherently repressive in positing them as ideals. So between, you know, craving bodily fulfillment and this kind of view of transcendence. Again, the issues aren't resolved, but I mean, in that final speech, after, you know, this prophetic speech after she's dead, she sort of evokes a kind of Reichian paradise of eternal orgasm and says that in spite of everything, even now I'm not ashamed of my communist past. In other words, actually existing communism has proved murderous and deadly and repressive, but the film still wants to insist on it as a locus of possibilities. And if you see the whole film again, the density of the montage and the way that Yugoslavia and the Soviet Union are opposed against America sort of adds to the film making this kind of impression. So again, I have much more to say, but a few minutes remaining, I'd like to get to the last film, which is called Life and Death of a Porno Gang. This film has, unlike the other two, is not available yet on DVD, though I'm told it will be next year, perhaps. Anyway, this film again it's a new film from Serbia, so it's a post breakup of Yugoslavia, post-Yugoslavian wars film. It takes place in 2000-2001, even though it's made in 2009. It's basically basically the plot involves. It starts out as this young filmmaker is trying to make a film. He's graduated from film school, but he has no prospects, no money to make a film. He's doing a kind of autobiographical documentary. The film later expands beyond that and becomes something more. And there are a lot of shots which couldn't be that he's taking it of himself, but it starts out with him turning on the camera and talking to the camera. Various things happen. He finds that the only way he can make a film is by working in the porno industry. He makes a film for this guy who's the producer, who's like the king of porno in Belgrade. But the guy hates the film because it's too arty. And it's kind of hilariously over-the-top arty. And, he basically has to leave Belgrade, get away from this guy who's together with the cops is shaking down, trying to get his money and things like that. He's so busy hiding from his enemies that he totally misses the overthrow of Milosevic, the dictator of Yugoslavia and then Serbia during and after the wars. He's finally in 2000 overthrown by popular demonstrations. he sort of totally misses that because he's in hiding from the porno king, who together with his cop brother is trying to, go after him. The only thing he decides to, he can't really shoot a film, he goes out in the countryside. He sort of assembles a group of porno performers, and they make this kind of hippie bus, so what, I as an American think back to, like, in what 1960s, 70s would be a hippie bus. And they go around in rural peasant Serbia trying to do kind of a kind of porno cabaret, giving, they say, well, educate the Serbian people in sex. And so they have this kind of career, but they run into problems, basically. Nobody wants them. If they're fleeing the kind of rapacious capitalism represented by the porno producer, what they run in instead is the kind of conservative patriarchalism of the countryside. So these are all hipsters from Belgrade who have run away from the countryside because it's so conservative, and here they are. So various horrible things happen to them. They get beaten up by the police, all their money is taken away. All the members group get raped at one point by a line of angry Serbian peasants, and so they're basically heading nowhere. At this point, they meet a character who, this is where I'll show you this last segment, and then I'll try to very quickly say what I have to say with this film. Okay, so this will give you an example of their cabaret and the trouble they get into, and then the kind of offer they receive for.
Tamo do daljnjeg više nećemo igrati predstavu. Cane i onaj njegov brat Pandur su psihopati. Sve bi uradili da nam zagorču život. Stani. Idemo u ovu montažu. Jeste. Rešili smo da napravimo turneju po Srbiji. Ići ćemo po selima. Biće zanimljivo da vidimo kako seljaci reaguju na naše seksualne provokacije. Seksualno obrazujemo Srbe, širimo vidike. To je naša gerilska misija. Predstava prvog srpskog porno kabareja prekinuta, delili karte maloletnicima, predstava nije prijavljena kao porno predstava. Bla, bla, bla. Idiot.
Video si koliko ih je napustilo predstavu?
Video sam, bre, ništa niste razumeli. Serem ti se na Beogradu.